What happens when Hollywood's most devilish grin meets an endless parade of some of the world's most beautiful women? Jack Nicholson didn't just conquer the silver screen. He became a legend in the art of romance, charm, and unapologetic pursuit. With that signature smirk and those piercing eyes, Jack turned dating into performance art, leaving a trail of relationships that reads like a who's who of Hollywood royalty. From Academy Award-winning actresses to international models, his romantic resume is as legendary as his filmography. Now let's dive into the full romantic history and meet the women who were part of this unforgettable journey. Jack's first serious romance began before he was a household name. Georgianna Carter, a fellow struggling actress trying to make it in Hollywood's competitive landscape, became his companion during the lean years. They met through mutual friends in the LA theater scene when Jack was still doing bit parts and wondering if stardom would ever arrive. Their relationship was marked by shared poverty, big dreams, and late-night conversations about breaking into the industry. She stuck with him through audition rejections and financial struggles. However, as Jack's career slowly began gaining traction with Roger Corman's B-movies, the relationship faded. Georgianna eventually left Hollywood entirely, choosing a quieter life away from the spotlight that Jack was beginning to crave. Sandra Knight wasn't just a girlfriend, she became Jack's first and only wife. The actress, known for her work in horror films like Frankenstein's Daughter, married Jack in 1962 when he was still a relative unknown. Together they had a daughter, Jennifer, in 1963, giving Jack his first taste of fatherhood. Sandra appeared alongside Jack in The Terror, 1963, one of Roger Corman's quickie productions. But as Jack's ambition intensified and his career demands grew, cracks appeared in their marriage. Sandra wanted stability and family life. Jack wanted Hollywood immortality. They separated in 1966 and divorced in 1968, just as Jack's breakthrough role in Easy Rider was about to change everything. Despite the split, Sandra remained relatively private about their relationship, raising Jennifer largely away from Hollywood's chaos. Their marriage represented Jack's last attempt at conventional domesticity. The Mamas and the Papas singer Michelle Phillips brought music industry glamour into Jack's life. Their relationship was intense and highly publicized, as both were ascending to icon status in their respective fields. Michelle, recently divorced from John Phillips, found in Jack a kindred creative spirit who understood the demands of fame. They attended star-studded parties together, becoming one of Hollywood's most photographed couples. However, both had fiery personalities and demanding careers. Michelle's music commitments and Jack's increasingly packed filming schedule meant they were often apart. The relationship burned bright but brief, ending after about a year when they realized their lifestyles were ultimately incompatible, though they remained friendly. Beautiful and brilliant Candice Bergen, already established as both a model and actress, began dating Jack during his artistic peak in the early 1970s. Candice brought intellectual depth to Jack's life. She was educated, worldly, and politically engaged. They were spotted at film premieres, political fundraisers, and exclusive Hollywood gatherings. Candice later admitted Jack was one of the most fascinating men she'd ever known, with an intensity that was both thrilling and exhausting. However, Candice wanted more commitment than Jack was willing to offer. She grew tired of his wandering eye and reluctance to settle down. The relationship ended when Candice realized Jack would never be monogamous, a pattern that would repeat throughout his romantic life. Anjelica Huston became the defining relationship of Jack's life, on and off for nearly 17 years. The daughter of legendary director John Huston, Anjelica was Hollywood royalty with her own fierce talent. They met at a party, and Jack was immediately captivated by her exotic beauty and regal presence. Their relationship was passionate, complicated, and often turbulent. Anjelica tolerated Jack's infidelities for years, hoping he would eventually commit fully. They broke up and reconciled multiple times, with Anjelica maintaining her dignity through public humiliations when Jack's affairs made headlines. The most painful moment came in 1977, when Jack was arrested at his home with an underage girl. Anjelica was present and also arrested on cocaine possession charges, though charges were later dropped. Despite everything, she stayed. The relationship finally ended for good in 1990 when Jack began his relationship with Rebecca Broussard, who became pregnant with his child. Anjelica later said loving Jack was both the greatest and most painful experience of her life. She went on to win an Academy Award and build her own legendary career. In one of Jack's most unexpected romances, he dated Margaret Trudeau, the estranged wife of Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Their affair was scandalous tabloid fodder, as Margaret was still technically married when they were photographed together at Studio 54. Margaret, going through a wild phase after leaving her political marriage, found Jack's bad boy charm irresistible. Their relationship was more about escapism and partying than deep connection. It fizzled after about a year when Margaret began seeking stability in her life, and Jack returned to his complicated on-again relationship with Anjelica Huston. Jack had a brief fling with actress Veronica Cartwright during one of his off periods with Anjelica. Veronica, known for her roles in Alien and The Right Stuff, was drawn to Jack's legendary charisma. However, their romance never developed beyond a passionate but short-lived affair. Veronica reportedly realized quickly that Jack wasn't emotionally available, still being deeply entangled with Anjelica despite their official break. The relationship ended quietly, and they remained professional acquaintances. Rebecca Broussard, an actress and waitress Jack met at Helena's nightclub in Los Angeles, became the woman who finally ended his relationship with Anjelica. Their affair began while Jack was still with Anjelica, and when Rebecca became pregnant in 1989, everything changed. Jack and Rebecca had 2 children together, Lorraine, born 1990, and Raymond, born 1992. For a while, it seemed Jack might finally settle down with a younger woman and embrace family life again. Rebecca was significantly younger and represented a fresh start. However, Jack's commitment issues resurfaced. They never married, and by 1994, the relationship had dissolved, though Jack remained involved in his children's lives. Rebecca later spoke about Jack's inability to fully commit to anyone, confirming the pattern of his romantic life. In his 60s, Jack surprised everyone by dating Lara Flynn Boyle, the Twin Peaks, and the Practice actress who was 33 years his junior. Their relationship raised eyebrows due to the significant age gap, but they were frequently photographed courtside at Lakers games, Jack's favorite pastime. Lara seemed genuinely smitten with the aging icon, and Jack appeared revitalized by her youth and energy. However, the relationship eventually fell apart, reportedly due to Jack's continued unwillingness to commit to marriage and Lara's realization that she wanted a partner ready to fully settle down. The age difference also created lifestyle incompatibilities that became harder to ignore over time. Throughout his decades in Hollywood, Jack was also linked to numerous other women in shorter affairs and rumored flings. Janice Dickinson, the supermodel, claimed a brief romance in the 1980s. Bebe Buell, the famous groupie and model. Paz de la Huerta, allegedly in the late 2000s despite the massive age gap. And Joni Mitchell, rumored brief encounter in the 1970s. Jack's charm and status made him perpetually attractive to women across generations, and his reputation as Hollywood's most eligible bachelor, who refused to marry again, only added to his mystique. From struggling actor to Hollywood's ultimate bachelor, Jack Nicholson lived a romantic life as bold and unapologetic as his iconic film roles. Through decades of relationships, from his only marriage to Sandra Knight, through the legendary on-off saga with Anjelica Huston, to his later years dating women generations younger, Jack never pretended to be anything but exactly who he was. A man who loved women, refused to be tamed, and lived by his own rules. His romantic history reveals a complicated figure, charming and magnetic, yet ultimately unable or unwilling to commit fully to any one person after his divorce. Whether you see him as Hollywood's greatest lover or its most commitment-phobic bachelor, one thing is undeniable. Jack Nicholson's love life is as legendary as his 3 Academy Awards.